The first part, introduce yourself. I'm sure many of you need that reminder. But the first paragraph is something that we say over and over again. What is it that United Way is focused on? The critical message there really is that last sentence. Well-being is based on education, income, and health. That's what makes well-being for the people we know, for us, for people we care about. So, if you could lead in with, why are we doing this together? What's the significance of all of us as partners? We're focused on building the foundations for a good life, and that's education, income, and health. However that flows for you. I know you all have your own speaking style, and for those of you who've been doing this 10 years, Amy said to me, what can I possibly learn from you? Because I do this all the time. And I know her well enough to give her a hard time. So what none of you want to do is tell me any personal stories, because they may come up in life someday. But each of you is going to have your own style. But if we can all remind people that that's what we all do together. It's education, income, and health for the community. Then we need to tell them what's not the way we want it to be. So what you see in these 5 focus areas is some statistics that we pulled out. Our statistic isn't going to necessarily work for Delane, or it may not work for some of the rest of you, because it doesn't speak to your specific population. So you may want to take a look at a statistic that you can use. But what we're really trying to do this time, because it helps people think in terms of scope, the who and how many is 1 in 4, 3 in 5, 1 in 2. And you see how we've done that here with early childhood? 1 of every 2 low-income kindergartners is not ready for school. That's what we're looking to say. If you have questions or concerns about a statistic you might use, give us a holler. Also, if you are going to use a different statistic, we'd love to see it. So if you'd be willing to just, you can put it in the subject line of an email. I don't care. Just really easy. Just let us know how you're adapting that, because that will help us for the next time we do this. So now we've told them what isn't what we want it to be. So what's the critical issue in the community? How can we change that? So then we talk about the goal. So in each of your focus areas, that's your opening to say, and here's how our organization helps change this condition in the community. In this case, in early childhood, it's increasing the number of low-income children who are ready for school by 50%. These are all 5-year goals. So over 5 years, we want to increase the number of kids who show up ready for school at kindergarten by 50%. And so then, like I said, that's your lead in to say, and here's what we do. For Corinne's organization, there are many things that they're doing around family support, around providing quality child care. They can tell a number of stories that fit in this area. And then the close, part of what we're suggesting is, let's continue to give all of these folks many options for their role in making this change happen, because it takes each of us to make some of these big changes happen. So here's another place you can personalize it. The give line, we kind of like you to keep fairly similar. Kind of come right out and say, give money to United Way. But to help more children succeed in school. Advocate, again, for those of you who are very engaged in public policy issues, Delane, you might have something you would want to say differently related to home and community-based services or whatever. Again, remember our audience, they're maybe not all policy geeks like some of us are. So, keep it pretty simple. But then volunteer. And if you have volunteer opportunities in your organization, please personalize that here. If you don't, fine, we've thrown in some suggestions of things you can say. Honestly, we're not aware of as many early childhood volunteer opportunities right now, but you may be. So go ahead and personalize that. Does that kind of make sense? So again, we've just tried to kind of give you a layout. So we've got a headline and we've got a close, and the stuff in the middle you can personalize based on what you know about the community and the populations you serve. The stuff we want to stay the same. That opening around this is about well-being, and well-being is built on education, income, and health is a pretty important piece for us. The community goal is an important piece for us because that's really the umbrella that we're all trying to operate under. And then, even though you may adapt it, letting people know that there are many ways. So for those people who perhaps aren't in a position to donate dollars, they can still advocate, they can still volunteer, and we want all those relationships. They strengthen all of us. So we want to broaden that message a little bit. Any questions about this template? And this is the first year I've done anything like this, so would welcome feedback very much. Particularly as you go out and begin to try and use it. If there's some things that are really kind of hinky about this, let us know. The other thing I passed out then is just a telling the story handout. You're the victim of every workshop I've ever been to. And I went to a storytelling workshop at a conference in February, and it was, for me, it was kind of an aha moment in terms of thinking about how to tell the stories. And for those of you who are at the March Agency Executive Meeting, I talked about some of this then as well. But I thought it might be important to put down on paper some of our assumptions about the purpose and the contents of the speaking presentations. The first one is to connect individuals, to connect the donors out there with the work in the community, both in terms of what they personally can do, as well as what you are doing, and then that larger community goal. So it's kind of like a three-layered message, because we need all those individuals working alongside us as organizations to make change happen. But the thing that all of you provide that we can never do as well as you is make it real. Real people, real stories, people with names and children and life experience that really connects to the story of those individuals that you're going to be speaking to. And I still remember years ago when I worked for Target and heard some of my first agency speakers, I could connect to every single agency speaker. Even if I'd never used a service, there was someone in my family or my circle of acquaintance that could connect with those issues that were out there. It's important for us to always remember what's the headline. So as you go into your speaking engagement, what do you want the headline to be? What do you want people to leave with? You want people to leave with an understanding, Mert, in your case, about the number of older adults who can't afford the services they need to remain independent. Or whatever that headline is, you really want to hit hard. And then what are we going to do together? People, there's so much discussion, particularly in the United Way worldwide community, about the deep need that people have in our communities for vision and for hope. That change is possible, that better things are possible, and so part of the challenge for you is, as you tell your story, both in how the individual is changed by the work that you do in the community, but also to help them see how community can be different because of the work you do and because of the things they can do. That's part of what we want to ignite. It's not just, please give us money, though we would like them to do that. But it is also about, please believe with us in the things that we can do together. And then the agency story, so many of you have experience, and I'm going to ask you in a minute, the ones who are willing to share, to talk about when you have really felt like your stories kind of clicked with people and stuff like that. But who is the story about? Make sure people are really clear about who the story is about. And Tiffany mentioned that if people want to know about what your agency does, that's a different kind of story. I get that. But they probably want to hear about the human side of it, too. Why do I care? So can everyone leave the room having a sense of why should they care about this issue? And how, and again, how it connects back to our shared community goals. And then I talked about the give, advocate, and volunteer piece. Some examples that I learned about, simple. I have a tendency to like data. So I have a tendency to tell very convoluted stories with layers and layers and layers of data. That's bad. Simple, 1 in 4, 1 in 2. But also somewhat unexpected. Is this a story that maybe was a surprise to you? Will it be a surprise to the donors? Something they haven't heard about before, or an outcome that they didn't expect?